Well, I could start recording. Maybe we should start doing
Voilà,
this. Right?
voilà. Yeah, because that's a proper introduction to the video. I fucking hate what we're going to do for 3 hours. Yes, let's do it.
Yes, I hate this tier. Why are we doing this? Oh dear lord.
No, the tentacle is not even on your first page, huh?
No, it's like, oh god, I have so many notes to go through. But okay, we'll just start it off. Hey everyone, Slai47 here. I am with DeathFromAbove, right there. You can see him. Thank you for joining us today. How are you doing, DeathFromAbove?
I'm good. You can call me Niklas for the video. It will be easier. Huh? So it's all good. Thank you. I'm really looking forward to doing this, and I see that we have quite a comprehensive list of ships to review.
Just a few. No, not too much. Not a crazy bit. But yeah, we were just talking. I hate tier 8. It's just, unfortunately, there's so many plague of ships. Because there's actually a lot of good tier 8s when you actually play like tier 8 respawn or something like that. You'll get games where they don't have so many of these just super powerful ships. And when you don't have that, you find actually some really fun ships in between here and there. But God, it's imbalanced.
I think you just reviewed one, so we will talk about it later. I personally like tier 8. I prefer it to tier 10 because indeed you get so many things that you can pick up from and very different. I think it's the biggest variety in playstyles.
Yeah.
If you want to do silly things, just go to tier 6. If you want to experiment new things, go to tier 8. If you want to be serious, go to tier 10. Voilà. Tier 8 is mostly where you will find me.
I'd say if you want to have fun, go to tier 10, but that's just me. Or if you want to seal club, go to tier 5. But Alright, let's go through this right here. But first off, if you haven't subscribed, go give DeathFromAbove some love right there. He's an amazing creator on there. Was it your EUCC, right?
All my accounts are on you, yes.
Yep. So if you haven't, go give him some love. Great content over there. But we'll get going. I think we've all understood the tiers, although needs fixing got changed to Dear God Why because of how competitive tier 8 is. It was almost barely playable for there, but I changed it up. I was like, it's just playable. That's the rankings. Yep, let's get into it. The Admiral Hipper. So we were already kind of started to talk about this before we even started recording. We both kind of hate German cruisers, so
we're not fans of German heavy cruisers, huh? to put it mildly. And indeed, for me, it will be playable. Playable because I think it's a very passive playstyle. If you take an initiative in the first half of the game, you get deleted. And it's just not necessarily Germans, but in general, the treatment of heavy cruisers by the game, it's not super good. Either they have super long range and they can be safe, camping behind, or it's over. And here you got the worst HE at the tier, so yeah.
You do have good AP. If you just know how to shoot, I will say the Admiral Hipper maybe goes into niche, but you're really pushing a ship that there's better ones to play.
Yeah.
Akazuki. How do you like these gunboats?
Yeah. It's not competitive, but it's fun. I'll probably put it in niche somewhere because it does have a kind of a niche of its own. It's kind of a unique playstyle. Huh? So I think it's one of the funniest ships to play at tier 8. But if you play it like a regular DD, you get deleted. If you play it like a regular gunboat, you get deleted. You have to kind of find a way to adjust. So
it's just play it like a light cruiser. It's just a light cruiser.
So I enjoy it a lot. Yeah, it's one of the few ships I have on my 2 accounts. Yes.
Now the Alabama, it was tough to pick this one because it's an old but solid premium. I think it's barely competitive. What about you?
I would put it in the meta actually. I think it's one of the few ships that benefited from the arrival of the Atlantico. Because it's accurate with the precise aim. You can really punch things from a distance, which is what you should be doing to fight that ridiculous monster. And essentially, if you just don't do anything stupid in the first half of the game, you're guaranteed to have a good time. So it can do a bit of everything. Secondaries are garbage, but guns are great, damage is great, accuracy, you got precise aim, A is fantastic as well. So, and mobility is actually kind of decent. So for me, it's one of the, I would say, long-range meta ships. So
Insane.
that's where I would put it. But voilà.
Yeah, I could agree with like high competitive if we had a position there, because meta there's a better ship that I would suggest for long range sniping, but that's just me. But all right, Albemarle, or did I say that right? Albemarle.
No, I don't have it actually. I haven't received a lot of incentives to grind that line, to be honest.
Me neither. I'm gonna put it in playable. It's just it's a heavy cruiser once again, but it's got a crappy long reload and just yeah, no, it's nothing to write home about. Maggie.
Maggie, probably somewhere in niche around that. I mean, it's a battle cruiser. Huh? It's very Japanese. So you've got one of the best DPMs at tier 8, if not the best, if I'm not mistaken. It should also kind of squishy. They buffed the armor of that thing quite significantly. So it made it a little bit better and more playable. But for me, it's not competitive because it's kind of restricted to one kind of playstyle. And yeah.
I call it very squishy too.
Well, you have to know what you're doing. I mean, it's still squishy, but it's not as squishy as it used to be, and you have to know what you're doing if you want to really use it to its maximum potential. So that's where I would put it. Right?
Yeah, someone on NA is probably just screaming after scream, because I'm like, I'd put it in playable, but I actually didn't know it had the highest DPM, and if it does, then that's actually, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put that in a niche.
Yeah, because it's actually, yeah, if I look, I calculate those things. I test ships in training rooms, measuring accuracy, the real damage, etc. And it sits around almost 17,000. And to put things in perspective, the Kansas is at 13,000 and a half. So that gives you an indication. So it's still one of the highest, if not the highest. So
I didn't know that. I'll put it in niche. It definitely is. I find that third turret, like, you just citadel the crap out of it. It's so easy.
Yeah, you have to show a lot of skin to get your guns on target. Huh? So that's the trade-off that you have to make. So I think it's a well-balanced chip.
Nice. And niche is, and remember everyone, niche is a good category. It's just sometimes it's going to work, sometimes it's not. So yep. Amalfi, I'm going to go right into niche on this one. It's a DD hunter. It's good.
It's a DD hunter, and it's at a tier where you get more battleships than DDs usually in matchmaking. So yeah, it suffers a bit. It's very matchmaking dependent. I agree with niche. Right?
Keep on going, because we got 5 DD games up at tier 10, and Venezias are needed. We need to delete those, or Regolos, whichever one you're feeling. Anhalt, now a new kid.
I haven't played it. I'm also a bit suspicious about it, because it's not like we don't have already enough German battleships at tier 8, to be honest. So
how many do we have? 5?
So I'm not touching it for the moment.
So I've played about 2-3 games in it so far. From this recording now, I'll probably have played more, and like that. It's just okay. I think it's definitely more niche though, because it's like its secondaries kind of suck, but its guns and the torpedoes kind of it's a hawk, but German.
How many guns does it have?
I think it's 5 sets of 3. So
so you don't really need secondaries when you can put 15 guns in the face of your opponent.
But they are lower caliber, so it's in a battleship game you got to be really careful. And also it does have scout plane, which I kind of found it odd. But it oddly works too. I don't know. It's a unique ship. Maybe they'll move, once we play it more and everything. But
that's good.
Asashio.
I would actually put it in playable, because honestly, it's. I'm hesitating between playable and Dear God why, because hear me out on this. First, it's CV food. That's number one. So it's just when you see that thing, you're in a CV, you're thinking immediately like, okay, I could work with it. And then essentially it can only do one thing, which it does quite well. So it's shooting torpedoes. But tier 4 tier, it doesn't really do anything more than the Yudachi would do, for example. So I'm a big fan of high damage, torpedo damage DDs. I started playing DDs with the Yudachi, so that's where I learned the game. And I actually regret. I purchased it from the shipyard, I think, 2 years ago, and I regret it. To be honest. So yeah. Not because it's inherently bad. It can work in certain circumstances, but it has the limitations of the line. And tier 8 is the tier where you've got the most, I would say, aggressive CVs for DDs.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was gonna put it in niche because I think it is gonna have those games where it can actually do what it's meant to do. But yeah, you are right. It is CV food. Even if I can hit it, that's saying something.
Yeah. So it definitely has its niche. I just don't see the point of buying when you can buy the Udachi, get the exact same experience, pay less money, etc. So voilà. That's kind of.
Or just get the Kagura.
Inherently, it's not that bad. It's in niche, but in the bigger picture, yeah, get the Udachi. Trust me.
Udachi, or the Kagura is a decent tier 8 of Torp boat in general, so you just grind the line like so. There. Let's talk about this piece of crap.
But you can put it up there. So voilà. I actually, I played one battle with it. I put it in my stats sheet, and then I said, but that's just retarded. Maybe I put something wrong in it. I'm just giving you some numbers here. And where is it? Oh, no, it's all towards the end. Secondaries DPM. It's It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Just run away, burn them up, and snipe them. It just that you just stay out of the 9 kilometer range or 10 kilometer range, and these things die. Yeah. But dear Lord, if they get in that way.
Yeah, but the problem is it's good if you're in a battleship, but if you're in an Akizuki or something like that, it's game over. Huh? I was grinding the German gunboat line when that thing came out. I stopped. I said, I'm going to finish this with the press account. So it's just ridiculous, and and they've kind of addressed. Actually, when I was discussed this with Wargaming when I came to the office, and I suggested nerfing the main guns to the same range as the secondaries to have that kind of a Doom Turtle or something like that. And because the thing is, what they've done is, I think, it's partially addressing the problem. You steal the elephant in the room that has not been addressed. You give something which has just a Benson as auto secondaries and the British heavy cruiser are main secondaries on each side of the ship, because otherwise it's not fun. And then you put it in a blitz pass so it doesn't sit behind the paywall. And you put an epic commander which has the secondary improvement skill in the same blitz pass.
You do have to grind that grid. You have to grind that commander all the way up, and that's one of the only ships you can do it besides the Rio now. So it's that's a lot of Atlantico games.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The Atlantico's insane. Let's talk about a more balanced ship, the August von Parzival. Where?
First of all, I would put it in meta. To be honest, if you ask me for CVs, every single one of them is going to end up either in meta or competitive because they're all overpowered. Voilà. As of tier 7. And the amount of influence you can have as a CV player in a game, it's completely disproportionate to your skill level. Just when I look at my stats in CV and in other classes, there's no comparison, and this one, it's actually kind of fun. If it's the Graf Zeppelin for dummies. You don't have to focus on your secondaries. You can actually kite with it, because if you turn the ship just a bit sideways, you get all your guns on target. If you face to your target, you only get half of your secondaries. And I've brawled Bismarcks with that thing.
I have too. So I love this ship. I want a black version of it, just with just a black after F7, but tier 8.
I think it's very, very fun. It's in terms of damage potential, it's very decent, and it requires a good balance of aggressiveness and I would say plane management to function very well. But I think it's a good ship. It's a good line. It's a good ship.
It's probably the most balanced tier 8 one, at least, because typically you will find them near the front line. They're actually doing something for the team. You're not backing up in these, and then on top of it, you don't deal with fires from them. So it's like, okay, hey, you get bombed, but it's not 3 fires. I just repaired. But yeah, no, I'd probably say competitive, but I agree. Carriers are just
there are much stronger CVs at tier 8, so we can put it in competitive, and I will put the real tournament ones at meta then. Okay. So
okay. All right, now on to the Bs. We're moving over to B. So Bayard. Bayard. For me, I take competitive.
Yes, Slai. It's Bayard.
Bayard.
We're going to improve your pronunciation on these things.
Oh, Sai was doing it last week too. He was like,
yes, Proiben was it? Oh, la, la, la. Yeah. You might as well shit on their national dish.
Oh, this is why I do collabs.
Yeah, I was laughing in my car. I could not stop. Bayard, it's a tier 8 de grass with an extra turret. So you get all the squishiness, but you get an insane amount of fires and you get rapid reload. So if you know what you're doing, it's certainly competitive. If you're a new cruiser player, don't start with this one.
No, you will get deleted at max range because you didn't do it. But
Roma will delete you in 15 seconds, no problem. So yeah, it's fine in competitive.
Right. Oh yeah. Belfast 43. I think just because it's a Belfast.
I don't know. I'm hesitating on this. I would put it somewhere between meta and competitive because indeed it's a Belfast with all its advantages and disadvantages. And you get the complete toolkit to kill DDs, to radar. You get a second radar, I think. But the HE, the AP at tier 8 was at tier 7 was okay. At tier 8, it's not really cutting it anymore. You're meeting a lot more battleships at tier 8. The HE is still fairly average to mediocre. So it's not as dominant in tier 8 as it was at tier 7, to be fair. They've addressed, I think, they kind of tried to address the main issue with the Belfast, which it doesn't have any burst damage, doesn't have any torpedoes or any way to get out of complicated situations. But yeah, 3 torpedoes, it's not, So, but it's somewhere between meta and competitive for me, so I'm fine with either.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a low meta for me. It's not. Same thing with the Belfast as you just said. It's just not as dominant at tier 7 in its tier 8 form. So, dominant in tier 8 is. Yeah, you guys get it.
Certainly not bad, but
Yeah, Benson. For me, I'm just gonna go right into there.
Oh, that's interesting. I would put it actually in competitive. Competitive because it's very American. It does everything that you want in a DD. If it had guns that could hit any DD further away than 6 or 7 kilometers, it would be much higher on the list. But the torpedo burst damage, it's ridiculously high on that thing. So it's actually pretty high. Maneuverability is good. You get all the toolkits. You get everything you need. Just to put things in perspective, torpedo burst damage on the Benson, it's actually on par with the Kagero. So it's a fairly decent ship, and the torpedo DPM is actually higher than the Kagero. So if Kagero is your benchmark for torpedo damage, there you go.
All right.
And you get 2 smokes, huh? You get 2 smokes as well. It's not bad, but concretely, it's just the guns that are,
I love gunboats. Like that's why I was like, this is until the gearing. Really, this line I didn't find enjoyable. So, okay.
I think it's one of the most. Well, it's one of the most competitive, interesting playstyles as well because you're always firing. You're always pushing that button to so it's one of the most attractive playstyle, I think. It's the complete playstyle for a DD.
Yeah,
so I like it.
It
does everything. It does everything well except for the guns. Right?
Yep. Now the Bismarck.
Yes, I think it's my most featured ship on the channel.
Where are you going to put it?
I will put it at competitive because it's. It can handle everything you throw at it, except the ship that's right above it on the meta. It's probably the one that suffered the most with the introduction of the Atlantico, along with Odin. But long range, it's fine. Mid range, it's fine. Short range, it's fine. It can do everything. It's incredibly tanky. I had a game, I think 2 days ago, where I blocked the flank for like 5 minutes, 3 battleships in front of me. Rest of the team deleted and came like that. So it's just.
You're the rock and hard place.
Voila. So I think it's probably the last tier where you can actually brawl in the way that you do it with the Bismarck. Tier 9 and 10 becomes a bit more complicated. So
Yeah, a lot
so
more
yeah,
map push.
it's still fairly solid.
So yeah, no, Bismarck is just especially after the buffs when the okay, I make sure I say these right. The Grosser Curve first and the Frederick de Gross, right? Yeah.
Friedrich der Große. Yeah.
Yeah, Frederick de Grosse. Once those
Your
buffs
first
happened a
thing,
while back,
everybody.
the Bismarck kind of came into its own where it's just good. It's a good amount of tank, good amount of guns.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do anything incredibly well, but because it just does everything decent, good ship. And the health, rock and hard places. You just demonstrated with the 3 battleships that you can tank. Now we go on to Borodino. What do you think?
I haven't played it. I haven't played it, to be honest. So I should.
You?
Yeah,
It's
I
so
should.
good.
Yeah, I should. I know I should.
Good. Oh my god, you're gonna love it. It's just a better Richie. I hate to say that. I love the Richie, but this thing is just.
Richie, if not my favorite, is one of my favorites. So I know it's on the to-do list somewhere. But
yeah, it's time, right? Who's got it?
No, it's the thing is I always test battleships in training rooms before, so I can get good ideas of damage, accuracy, armor, etc. And I simply don't have the time to test them all. So this one is on the 2 test list. I just finished retesting all the tier 10s. But the tier 8 is going to take some time as well. So that's the only reason why. So
makes sense. Yeah, but Borodino, you get radar, you get good guns. The secondaries are Nevsky guns, basically. So you get long range, and they're accurate too. They're almost Atlantico good, but because you have so few of them, it doesn't feel broke. So yeah, definitely, if you can pick up the Borodino, suggest it. Brandenburg as our final B.
Put it in competitive as well. I mean, it's also fairly decent, quite good. 12 guns, torpedoes. So if you manage to get close enough, you can really delete anything you meet. So yeah, for me, it's it's on par with the other brawlers at tier 8, to be honest.
Yeah, when it first came out, actually I hated the ship. I was quite surprised, and then it's just I don't know. The Brandenburg is. Yeah, it's good, but not in my hands.